Um, I'm thinking today, trying to reflect over good things that have happened and nice memories of time spent here. Summer camp was really, I was talking to Lynn tonight about it. I was like, summer camp was a change of pace. It was to get out of the house. It wasn't the sit captive for hours type of a place. I remember they taught me how to swim at day camp, which was really important. Taught me how to be brave and get on stage. And then in CSH, or Cold Spring Harbor High School, I had a driver's ed teacher. We drove in a green Jeep. That was interesting because it was a modified vehicle, because it had to have brakes from both sides. I think on one of my transcript schedules for high school, there was Western something, there was an American something, and there was a global studies. I have no memory of taking these classes at all. They're just gone. There's no recall ability. There's no remember ability. And again, that goes back to having a Jaeger and a gypsy inside the driving force of the Jaeger. And it goes back to legends and myths of when the world stands still, it means that peace finally washed over all of those that were suffering and in pain. And the machine goes into repair mode so that when live comes back online, it is not in such disrepair. That's the fault in the system at the moment. It's not performing that way. It appears, in my own situation, engaging that between 2015 and now, when I came back online, I didn't pass compliance or muster for some reason. And I've been getting more sick. I don't know the little things that are adding up to much larger things. But I don't understand why that's my inherited problem. This evening, I see there's the battle for Ukraine is up. I don't know what battalion and battles these mean. I saw the other day they mentioned that the boys, I have 4, were men, young men, have to give a year to the service. Question is that when the country's not calling upon the boys, what do? What is that indicative of? What does that intimate? Do they have countries that will adopt them for this 1-year service process so they learn a leaf man process so they're not totally left behind in this I don't know, before Dust Bowl. At the last JPM MG meeting in a process outside of here. I think Solar City was involved. They mentioned something about Rose Bowl for them. Because the Super Bowl business has gotten so dirty. They didn't even want to say that, but Rose Bowl was where they were, and I don't know what that means. Honestly, I don't. I didn't know then either, but I knew better than to ask questions. So tonight it looks like Zelensky, they're reporting it's April 1st, 2022. He fired they said his top 2 security officials. And that's in Ukraine. As peace talks continue, it says, Kansas was reporting last night. I saw their electrical storm. They had ground to cloud electric process. Tonight they showed Alabama. Alabama had, via Storyful, they had a process much like my own here, except theirs, Lee Goldberg said that there's more ice and water in the clouds because their electric went far. I have very small electrical charges in my cumulus clouds. It doesn't carry very far across the nightline sky. It also does not hit ground level for these bright like light shows. But Alabama has more display than I do. There's a lot more whatever. Mine is very, very like faint and weak, which I know it's a sign of something in electromagnetic and static. As I need clean air and water. Those are the top priorities here. And from an IAL perspective, the air and the water is just really not clean. It's my assessment.
Further complicating his war efforts, the president has fired 2 high-ranking members of the Ukrainian Secret Service. In his latest address, he called them traitors.
And in Mariupol, the nightmare continues. Russian-backed soldiers laying waste to the city with grenade launchers.
I don't know how here inside New York where they go, I mean, like I heard elsewhere in the theater, they go for a year and it's a requirement. I do not know why in the state of New York or wherever I am on Fish Island, I don't know why the boys were not, well, I was not contacted. I've been contacted by the National Guard several times to speak to Benjamin directly, which I always try to allow them to speak. I ask if there's anything, I should know. But I don't know. There's never been a call to action for even training purposes for them. I mean, there's something wrong in the system. I just don't know which part and where. There's another piece up here. Someone in the Republican Party, he's what they call a congressman. He's in a wheelchair. He made mention of something. He's a Trump supporter. And then there was someone around Washington who's not Leafman, I mean, it's a totally different tree completely, was running around almost harassing the guys for, like, I mean, it's almost like this bullied into position for having to answer questions on camera about whether you're going to support him or not. He said he saw some things going on around Washington with some of the stuff I saw in New York that I don't want to be a part of, but the climate being, and I should have never even been around, but that's a whole nother thing about land management and what as a woman I'm being exposed to in, I mean, and I try to, easy as she does it, but they said that they wouldn't support him for coming forward because it put them in a bad light. Well, it only puts you in a bad light because you've got non-Leaf members running around with a microphone and a camera asking you questions, putting you on the spot. But there are some really serious things going on. I guess Washington's experiencing them too. They're just at a different, I mean, I'm in a fallout shelter position. They're still wearing suits and attending showered events of love, care, appreciation, and some form of unity. I don't even have access to that. Now, this is interesting. I've seen on the Ukraine battlefield over the last several weeks, they have tanks that have the symbol V. They have tanks that have the symbol Z. I don't know if that's indicative of two different teams on the same battlefield. Not sure. But last night, and I'm going to try to pull that up, tonight's April 1st, on the ABC, World News Tonight, and it's the reporter's last name is Johnson. I know that's important as well. He looks very... So they're saying that there was some radiation exposure. Now, on March 31st, they reported that they were actually digging trenches and purposely exposing themselves, some of the Russian forces, to exposure. Now, tonight, on April 1st, they came out and said that they did not discover any radiological exposure, or I'll put it up there so I'm not paraphrasing.
At Chernobyl, from which Russian troops have now fled,
It's about
officials say that
Chernobyl.
radiation levels around the decommissioned nuclear plant are normal, although movement of heavy military vehicles may have caused higher levels of localized radiation as Russian forces left the area.
We heard about the possibility of some personnel being contaminated, but we don't have any confirmation about that.
Outside the capital, a Ukrainian patrol...
That's the first time I've ever seen that gentleman before. I'm going to pause this, see if I can go to last night's video. Same reporter, Johnson, which is here. Same World News Tonight. But this was March 31st. This aired on March 31st. The one that I put first on my video was from April 1st. So one night apart.
Under fire. Tonight, Russia abandoning control of Chernobyl. Ukraine's state nuclear company confirming that troops have left and also saying the Russians had dug trenches in the most contaminated part of the exclusion zone, receiving significant doses of radiation. There are even unconfirmed reports of Russian troops being treated for radiation sickness in Belarus. And as they pull back, more strikes come in. As I was reporting live from Kyiv this morning, the sound of an incoming missile. And then it hit, smoke rising from the capital. We just heard an enormous explosion here towards the north of where we're standing. And you can see there deep, dark smoke rising into the...
So that's what's coming into New York at the moment. which gets to be a little confusing, considering that they seem to have an official about radiation that came on, which I've never even, I mean, I've seen the symbol behind him on the screen. I've just don't know what it means, never been taught it, and I don't have a word. I mean, I've used the word neutrino for it, but I don't know if that's the appropriate word according to like Language Lab. I mean, I try to construct my own way of communicating with what I've got going on in time dysplasia and dysphoria, but then to have these pieces added on top of like UFO work is like, it is just chaotic. Here we are.
Extraordinary loss just over a month into this war. James Longman back with us again tonight from Kyiv. And James, you're learning more about what happened to those Ukrainian generals President Zelensky fired? Well,
so in this piece, they're referring to them as generals. Before, he said his top officials, and he said Secret Service.
Well, this is the first time President Zelensky has commented on these two generals, both of whom have now been stripped of their command. It's understood one fled Ukraine before the invasion began. It's not known where either of them is now, but President Zelensky did go on to praise Ukrainians who are still defending their nation. James Longman, our thanks to you again tonight. A great week of reporting for us.
And this is the piece on the upcoming congressmen in Washington, D.C., and what their piece is at the moment.
Thank you. Next year, a
Piecemeal.
rising young Republican star is now under fire from his own party. North Carolina Congressman Madison Cawthorn, the youngest member of Congress at age 26, making stunning claims on a podcast about the sexual behavior and drug use he says he's seen in Washington. GOP colleagues now calling him out, and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy saying the freshman lawmaker was not telling the truth. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
He's the youngest member of Congress, a rising star in the Republican Party, a leading Trump supporter speaking at that rally on January 6th.
My friends, I will tell you right now that there's a new Republican Party rising.
But tonight, Republicans say that after a string of controversies, Congressman Madison Cawthorn has finally crossed the line.
Where I am in New York, this is the first time I've even seen this gentleman's face. They don't play whatever it is that is, I guess they call them rallies or where they speak. Again, I have no access to that. I don't even know the process to it where I have been held or kept. And I'll tell you right now, on the podcast that I have, trying to get to one person as to the level of what's going on around here and what I've been exposed to. It's just, it is what it is, and it's a sidecar to some motorcycle. If the politicians and the Congress and the Washington, I mean, DC, is it disease control or is it divine comedy? Is it the District of Columbia? How did that come about? I mean, if they're driving this motorcycle of the highest efficacy to protect the family and all the Leafmen and their legacy and their future generations, then why the decisions that they make that attach sidecars and saddlebags when another family member gets sideswiped or entangled with one of these motorcycle people? I mean, why is nobody coming to their defense and rescue? Why must it become some public thing, kind of sort of in a not really wanted to way, rather than getting a hand to hold and some help? Why is the level of family services so uneven when there are clear areas of danger and clear family members that are under siege and need help.
With his claim that people in Washington, presumably GOP lawmakers, invited him to sex parties and used cocaine.
I look at all these people, a lot of them that I've looked up to through my life. I've always paid attention to politics, guys that, then all of a sudden you get invited to, like, oh, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get-together at one of our homes. You should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? Yeah. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Yeah. Or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove, addiction in our country. And then...
Or worse, they just sign themselves up for these things, put you in the car, take you to them, and then you have no idea where you are, and you have no idea how to even get home. That's happened.
You watch them do, keep up with cocaine right in front of you.
House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy, who has been reluctant to discipline other members for making outrageous comments, summoned Cawthorn to his office for a scolding.
He's lost my trust. He's going to have to earn it back. He's got a lot of members very upset.
McCarthy telling reporters Cawthorn did not tell the truth.
We watch people do cocaine. Now, when he comes to tell me, he said, he thinks he saw maybe a snapper in a parking lot from 100 yards away. And tell me that he doesn't know what cocaine is. It's just frustrating.
Sources say the Republican leader asked Cawthorn to publicly apologize, but so far, Cawthorn has refused. His Republican colleagues infuriated. What did you make of those comments?
This is the part that infuriates me. The reporter. The one trying to trip up and make other people look bad in shaming. There are people that need help inside the Leave Me Alone and the Family Leaf business. I do not understand why they allow anybody. I don't care the colors that she's wearing. I have my own black and yellow with a big bear on it at Beshurking. And he's well over, what was he, 6'5", 6'3", 6'5", 6'5", 6'4". I don't know. I thought it was 6'5" because it's the inverse on 5'6". But whatever. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Well, irresponsible. Irresponsible. What he's saying can't possibly be true. I just think it puts us in bad light.
Both of North Carolina's Republican senators say they will not back Cawthorn.
It does put them in a bad light, except what's even worse is the platform given to the not us that's coming across the borders bringing that we're trying to clean up some family stuff, some more problems, like on a silver platter, like just happily waiting to just rip things apart. It's been going on for I don't know how long. I mean, Barbara Bush talked about how drugs were, like the war on drugs, like it was a problem for the kids. Then, I don't really see it again.
In his upcoming primary, calling him an embarrassment, saying he lacks the most basic standards of a congressman, but he still has one big name in his corner, and that is Donald Trump, who announced today that Cawthorn will be a guest at his rally in North Carolina.
Now, why would they both go on record to purposely shame their own and not stand with him and give this non-family member some teeth and grit to even possibly make them look bad? Star 1978, Star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, its Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and its Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.